Hello, everyone. I am Chuang. Today, let's draw the head of Yangchuanosaurus magnus. When restoring the head of Yangchuanosaurus magnus, you will find it is rounded and looks pretty tall. During this restoration, we adopted the method of adding lips to this carnivorous dinosaur. Its lips would block most of its teeth. Its teeth were already very long, and the thick lips made the dinosaur's head look even rounder. When drawing, we should pay attention to the proportions of its entire head. Another complex part of this drawing is how its lips wrapped its teeth. We can choose an angle that allows the viewer to look up from below. When it opens its mouth at this angle, we can see the teeth on both sides of the upper jaw. When drawing, we also should pay attention to the blocking relationship inside its mouth. There were 2 rows of teeth. On this side, the outer part is the lip. The farthest is the lip on the other side, which would be blocked by the teeth on that side. Then, the teeth on this side, and finally, the outermost lip blocks the teeth here. These 4 relationships are the focus of this drawing. You can see the teeth that are partially blocked by the lips, how much is exposed from the outside, and what they look like from the inside. Well, illustrate this part clearly. Now, let's draw the head of Yangchuanosaurus magnus. We draw it as if we look at it, from bottom to top, so that we see the inside of the dinosaur's upper jaw. First, let's outline the upper jaw. For the other side, we use a dotted line to show it. Its jugal bones were curved downward. Correspondingly, the lower jaw was also curved downward. Here is the corner of its mouth. We can leave it unsealed for now. Then, we use a light line to outline its lower jaw. At the midline of its nose, there was a relatively bulged and round keratinous structure, which would fork into 2 rows on the top of its head. In front of the eyes, there was a raised lacrimal horn. We outline the eye socket. And draw an eyebrow-like bump above the eye, resembling most carnivorous dinosaurs. Behind the eyes is the temporal fenestra. Then, there's the shape of the back of its head. Next, we slightly draw the neck. The outline of its head first arched upward, then curved down. Below was its throat. We can show the muscles on the neck and draw some loose skin between the muscles and the lower jaw. Like this, we've finished drawing the rough outline. Then, we go into the specific structures. First, we draw its nose, with the nostril opening pointing downward. Then, its eyes, which should be drawn quite small. We draw its crescent-shaped pupil with a highlight in the upper part. Then, trace the outline with a concrete solid line. The keratinous structure can be drawn with ups and downs here. Below the outline, we can use strokes like this to show the thickness of the keratinous structures. It had 2 such keratinous structures, with only a little exposed on the other side. On the keratins, we add some scratches or texture. we can draw some thin lines above the eyes to show the texture and shadow simultaneously. Draw some larger scales behind the eyes. These large scales should transition into the periphery and slowly disappear. Then, we slightly show the temporal fenestra, followed by the ear. For the antipodal fenestra, we use a very light, thin line to simply and intermittently draw a few strokes. When drawing the antipodal fenestra, we should leave much white space. When it was alive, this part was basically flat. We only need to use wrinkles to distinguish the texture of the underneath bony part and the boneless part. Around the lips, we can draw rows of scales like a lizard. We don't have to draw every scale. For the larger scales, we only need to draw a corner. For the rows of smaller and smaller scales above, we use dotted lines to show them. The same goes for the lower part. We use rows of dotted lines to show the gap between the two rows of scales. This will make it form a feeling of pleats, so that you can sense the uneven arrangement of the scales. Next, we draw its teeth. The upper teeth closer to us are only slightly visible due to the cover of the lip. When drawing the inner teeth, we can draw their original very long look. We first determine the position of the tooth roots, draw the teeth along this dotted line, and then complete the boundary between the tooth root and the gums, so that we can draw the teeth relatively neatly. Then, we add the lines between the teeth. Next, we draw the lips. Looking from the inside, the teeth on that side block the lip, and the lip is between the teeth. We just trace along the dotted line we drew when composing the picture. The gums were connected all the way to the muscles inside its mouth. The maxillary teeth only have their tips exposed, and those shorter teeth at the rear are basically invisible. The teeth in the lower jaw can be longer. This dinosaur had a huge head. The skin was relatively soft. Due to gravity, the skin would droop down, so the gums of the mandible may be more exposed. We show the tooth roots first, and then draw the gums. Next, the muscles on the other side of the mouth. Now, we complete the lips. Draw some visible teeth on the opposite side between the teeth. Then, draw its tongue. Between the two teeth that are far apart, we can draw some small growing teeth. Draw a little shadow between the tongue and the teeth, followed by a shadow inside the mouth. There was a hole in this muscle. When it closed its mouth, the mandibular muscle would be stuffed into it. Then, we show the muscles of the lower jaw. Thicken the outline of the throat. On its neck, we draw some structural lines that can both represent the skin and volume. Finally, draw a series of spikes on the back of its neck. Good, like this, we've finished drawing the head of Yangchuanosaurus magnus.